Good evening. I'd like to welcome tonight's council meeting. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call the meeting to order and open the roll call.
Goodell,
Here.
Slater,
Here.
Shaw,
Here.
Rusher,
Here.
Davis.
Here. And we need a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Move approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We need a motion to approve the minutes of the August 3rd, 2015 regular council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We need a motion to approve the July treasurer's report.
You'll
Move
see the
approved.
disbursements are pretty high, obviously, as we go into the new fiscal year, there's a lot of money that goes out right at the beginning, and then comes back and throughout the year with the property taxes. Sorry.
That's all right. Now everybody knows.
Yeah.
Move approved.
And I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Under communications, anything from the public in attendance this evening? If not, Clint, we'll hear about our People Service Monthly Report.
Good evening. We'll start off the water plant operation. We're still having punch list items we're going through. We are getting through them. I think just last week we added 2 or 3 to it. The engineer said he'd add that to the list and contact the contractors. We had to do some work on the spring side pump. It was a wouldn't start one day for whatever reason. Checked fuses, electrical. We had a guy from NCIS come in, and he actually called the Square D company, the installer of the electrical panel itself, and he just had him reverse the wires on 2 phases, just for about 1 second, spun the pump backwards, hooked everything back up, and it took off. I have no idea what the cause. It's just one of those deals, so.
Is that an original pump then? That's one we did not replace?
No, that was a new one.
That's
That
the new
was
one,
The
okay.
new one, yeah. Because we got still one of the older ones that's for a backup.
Okay.
That works fine. But no, this was a new one, and no one really had an answer for.
That's not good.
For what it was, so. But, yeah, that's up and running now. I think they did find the problem between the generator that was causing the Slakers to alarm. There was I think it was an imbalance of some electrical. They tested all the different voltages, switched some things around, and everything's running good now, so for that. Installed a few more radio reads and wastewater, just the typical stuff. We're pulling down one basin now, and the lift station checks, jetting some lines and that, so.
What's the line press? What are we?
The line press, that's in the building.
Right, but if we got a problem with the line
There
press,
was
or-
they're a big composite dividers. There's, I don't know how many of them, and they got the cloth on them that gets pumped through and it catches the line. One of those actually broke, and the company was not gonna replace it. But the engineer actually went to bat for us and said, no, look, it's still under warranty. So they finally gave in, and I think we just got it in not too long ago. But they sat on that for 4 or 5 months and didn't want to replace it, but they finally did, so. Why it broke, I don't know, it's just cracked, so, but they did replace it, so. I think probably because it was about $1,000, I think probably roughly $1,100 for one of those plates. But that has been replaced, so. But other than that, we're just keep going along, so. Any questions, comments?
Digester lid, the fact that they're getting started on that.
Yeah, they're mobilizing for that this week. They've just started hauling stuff out, so. That, what's that name of the contractor again? Grimmon Hicks, yeah, that's right. So they've got some equipment out there now, so.
Are you familiar with Boone's, wastewater plant Boone's at all?
No, I haven't.
Okay, we come by there yesterday and they were draining their ponds. Do we drain ours ever?
No,
Okay.
no. If we do, it gets drained into the overflow basin, then we recycle everything back through again,
Okay.
so.
I just hadn't seen that. That's why just when I come over the hill, you can see, you know.
Yeah.
Are those lagoons or?
Yeah.
Okay, they probably are on a seasonal discharge. They open them up and discharge them.
Okay.
Maybe 2 times a year, once a year, it depends.
Okay.
So that's probably what those are. But, no, ours all gets recycled internally, so.
It seems like a bad sign if you're draining.
Well, I just.
Yeah, that's not good
Cooper
for
did that,
you.
yeah, I just didn't know why.
Right.
Something I'd never seen before, so.
Mhm, right, so, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Clint. Alrighty, we'll move on to public hearing. This being the time and place for the scheduled public hearing on the proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, estimated cost, and bids received with the construction of the Eagle River Addition, Phase 2. I'll open the public hearing at 5:35. Aaron?
Obviously, we got David here, but just a kind of quick review and then let you add some stuff. We did get 2 bids. Low bid was Hurst and Sons Contractors at $389,999. Second low bid, or the other bid, I guess, was Wunsch Construction at $406,153.80. Hurst is who did the work on the Humboldt Business Park. They did the underground work up there. I think the level of work was quality. We had some headaches with them as far as Clint doesn't have a great memory of them. They opened up all the hydrants on a Sunday and almost threw us into a boil order. They dropped the pressure so quickly. So we'll have to stay on top of them about a few things like that. But I think so far the work's been quality that we've looked at. So I don't think their performance is bad. Maybe they're a little bucky and ram things through. So those were the 2 bids. The bids were about $37,000 over the engineer's estimate, within that kind of contingency. It's a little higher than we would like, and accordingly, that brings up some questions as far as tax increment financing payoff. This is a bit more of an art than a science, trying to estimate how much tax increment financing you'll potentially receive, because to know what you're going to receive, you have to know what the valuations of the houses will be, when they'll be constructed, things along those lines, and that makes it very difficult to be 100% sure on any of that, and that's why you have a general obligation debt back up to any urban renewal project. And so with urban renewal, if things go badly, you don't collect enough increment, then it falls back on your debt service. This, I guess with my, best guess, I think that the city is exposed to some general obligation debt, should the houses not come in nearly as high as they have in some of the other areas. With that being said, I've been surprised at how the tax increment financing has come in on Phase 1 of Eagle Ridge. But I like to use conservative numbers. I don't think it's good to go out there and assume that every house is going to be huge and produce a ton of taxes. So with that in mind, Walter and I met this morning and we talked about, obviously in the notes I had mentioned that there's this potential debt sitting out there if we move forward with the project, that there's potentially $100,000 of exposure in my best guess. With that in mind, I think that one of the things that we talked about is removing the tax abatement on this whole area, the second phase. Does that make the lots a little less desirable? Yes, but I don't think it necessarily threatens the development. And plus, I think then you're getting closer to making sure that those lots are actually paying for the cost of the infrastructure that's being put in. Additionally, I think that we might be surprised by the rate of return on tax increment financing in the area, but I wouldn't want to just go full steam into this and have it be a situation where 10 years down the road, somebody's surprised, or, you know, the kind of city council at that point is surprised, you know, you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for the best success. So I guess that's kind of the conversation we had this morning. Do you want to kind of fill in on why you thought it came in a little higher?
Yeah, with that being 10% over, you always go back and look at the numbers. I think realistically, you comparing our numbers to the actual bid prices, we lost the 30 grand right in sanitary sewer services, and there's only 6 of them. The reason it's so spendy is that sanitary sewer is already in, and it's deep, it serves the entire area. It also is adjacent to the water main, and when you put in your sanitary sewer service, you're gonna actually have to put that sanitary sewer underneath the water main. So you're gonna have a large trench exposed of water main that you're actually gonna have to brace for the temporary time period to put those sanitary services in. You look at the full numbers, that's pretty much the difference. There is, the numbers on asphalt were, right where we thought they would be, within real close 5%. Couple other things, subdrain's been a little more expensive lately. Everything that I've been bidding on subdrain's coming a little more spendy. I think contractors are finally realizing that it is a little bit of work, you gotta put them into the intakes, things like that. We're also, comparative to our original numbers, way back when in June when we were looking at it, we put a couple of additional intakes in on the project. It's really to serve the next phase, but it's the only time you can put them in. You have to put them in now so that they're set up in the returns, the radiuses of the actual roadway, so they just need to be in for that future phase. That's always a tough one when you're sitting there. It's not really for this phase, but you have to put them in at this time so that they can serve that next phase, so. But within 10%, the two good contractors, that's what you always want to see, and that they were close to each other, I think it is.
And you felt that they went pretty hard at,
I did.
as far as bidding, it
Mhm.
seemed like,
They were-
you had like 15 calls on it as
Yeah,
far as.
they were asking a lot of
sharpening
questions,
their
and,
pencils, so.
and if you look at some of their numbers, Hearst and Sons dropping their traffic control to 500. They're being, they're going after some of the smaller items where usually they just receive a subcontractor quote and they're like, we'll just go with that. I think they really tried to tighten up some things too. So I don't think they're bad numbers. You're bidding, and I guess that's always a tough thing. But at the same time, we were letting them work in that spring time frame also. So it's not undoable by any means. I don't think it would impact it that.
David, do you think
Yep.
would we benefit if we decided to reject both these bids and start over from square one again, or what's your feeling on that? Because, okay, from a layman's evaluation of their bidding process, I'm not an engineer and I'm not a
No, that's
contractor,
fine.
but, like you said, the traffic control, the Hearst one, Wunsch.
Yep.
See, they missed it by 16,000 if you were comparing the two, and then traffic control, Wunsch was $6,000 higher. And then the testing part of it was another component. They were $4,000 higher. And then, was it a typo or an error on Hearst's part for the clearing and grubbing? They bid that $1, and then Wunsch bid it for $3,000. So there's, those three items, it seems kind of like inconsequential, components to the whole project, but yet there's the difference in the $16,000. So do you think
I think the traffic control number is a number, and we just had the pre-construction meeting today with Wunsch, and he's looking at the bid tab too. He hadn't seen it, and I handed him a copy, and we were going through it with Kirk, and Kirk's looking at the traffic control and going, they're gonna do it themselves, and I'm gonna have a subcontractor. And that's the difference, Hearst and Sons must have the signs available, and they're gonna bring them out, because it's not very hard. It's road closed and road closed. That is the traffic control on this project. But if you have, a subcontractor coming from, a lot of them are Waterloo or, a distance away, they don't wanna show up for no money. So they get what they need out of it. So could that be a little tighter? Yeah.
Testing, that's another sub-consultant. Sometimes the contractors only like working with one geotechnical engineer for the sub-consultant, so that might not change. There might be somebody more competitive that is going with the lower one, but the one that's number 2 might not want to use them. You know, they might be just comfortably use the same geotech always. So, would I say that there would be a possibility that you could get a tighter number? Sure, but would we be able to eliminate that 10% down to my number? I think the sanitary sewer services are really the only thing that they're killing us, and I think they're killing us from the standpoint of a good identification by the contractor that that's not gonna be fun. You know, those sewers are deep. I mean, we're talking, the sewer services, the sewer is 20 feet deep, your water main's 6 feet, so when you're coming with that sewer underneath that water, it's not gonna be fun to brace that, and rightfully so. You know, I want a contractor to put a number in there that takes into account something like that, that if it's gonna be a hard dig, and it's gonna be, you're gonna really need to have your A game, and you're gonna have to brace that, I want them to do that, because I don't wanna have an issue with the water main either. So, I don't think we're gonna get a significantly better number.
If we were to reject these two and rebid the project.
I don't.
God, did it surprise you? I mean, the clearing and grubbing part of that, I mean, that's why I thought it was a typo when I said they had $1 on their bid, and the other one was 3,000, so.
When you look at the plans, there's quite a few trees that are in the right of way, but we're not identifying a lot that are needing to actually be removed, and we'd actually want to keep them in place.
Sure.
There's some brush out there, whether somebody really considers it incidental to excavation, or they put it in the clearing and grubbing number, that can be a big difference right there. You know, I mean, it's mainly the clearing and grubbing would be a couple little bushes that are gonna have to go, and I think
The
Kirsten Sons is sitting there
discriminatory
going,
number.
I'm gonna put that in my excavation, so.
And a lot of times contractors will just, like you said, the services or whatever, they'll just raise the price on the services and throw a buck in for the grubbing, so that, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah,
what the
yeah,
hell with it,
for
you know,
sure.
I mean,
Come
we're
to-
gonna spend so much on the services, it's gonna have, we have to take a tree out, we have to take a tree out.
Well, and
You know,
especially
so
when
it's-
it's, that clearing and grubbing is a
Right.
lump sum item.
Exactly.
You know, when it's a lump sum item,
Right.
they don't have the ability to get additional units on it, so.
Yeah.
They can definitely play a little bit of that game
Right.
when they're bidding the project too,
Yeah.
so, yep, completely agree.
Kind of along those lines, knowing that we've got some work to do on getting things buttoned up as far as, you know, the tax abatement, the urban renewal area, all of those items, I think that we need to table the actual approval until, and then I'll come back to you with some more information as far as getting, you know, we need to get the urban renewal area passed, we need to get the tax abatement issue resolved as far as making sure that that money comes in. And then, you know, even with that, I will say, you know, we're still, we're gonna have to see how the tax increment financing comes in. There's always this risk. I mean, if the bond company will tell you that you can never guarantee that any home will be built. You know, we've got a pretty good idea that quite a few homes are gonna be built there, considering, you know, the lots are sold and you've got, you know, I think possibly 4 people who are looking to start almost right away on that south side. And so I think that, you know, we're pretty safe in that respect, but, you know, never say never. There's always a worst-case scenario, you know. So,
I'd be concerned if we were gonna take the tax abatement away though, because in that, I think that would discourage maybe development, I mean, in a sense. Because we've given it to everybody else, and then we're not gonna give it to that side of the neighborhood, I mean.
But there is no tax abatement there now. We're gonna have to make an exception to put it in. There is no tax abatement on those lots,
on the south side.
on the south side.
Because when originally that was never platted, it's part of Eagle Ridge. When Eagle Ridge was platted, it was just that, I guess you can kind of see it over there, but it's just that section above Eagle Ridge Drive. And so,
That property was bought
that was,
without
yeah.
tax abatement on it, so.
Which ones, you're not talking about the Ryan Abbey Hartwell
Yeah,
project?
right. Yep.
Yeah, those were
All
never
those
actually
lots.
on Eagle Ridge.
Nope.
And so,
They were planned on.
But aren't
tax
they
abatement.
anticipating an abatement then, or because of the fact that their neighbors have it? I mean,
I think that they
did they not-
probably
Did they not?
expect it, but, you know, it's not in place right now. I think that they I can tell you the conversation that I've had from the start is don't get ahead of yourselves, because, you know, for Ryan, he does have the frontage, he does have the infrastructure, he's got everything he needs for his house. The other 3 lots do not, because they do not have the frontage. And so as those were getting spoken for and people wanted those lots, my comment has always been, we don't have an accepted bid, we don't have an approved urban renewal area, we don't have any of these things, so don't start, you know, picking out the drapes in the house until we get these things in place and we're actually ready to move forward. And so I think that there is an understanding that we do have to go through this process. We did get higher bids, we do have a higher cost. There is gonna have to be some negotiation to make that, to make sure the city is as close to whole as possible as they move through. Like I
But-
said, always a risk, but not necessarily a,
But then people on the south side of the horseshoe would not be receiving it, but then the people on the inside would be receiving the tax abatement? I mean, I'm a little bit confused.
Not at this point, no.
Not at this
Not
point.
inside.
Because we haven't.
We'd have to vote on that for tax
Okay.
abatement for both sides of the district.
I would, well, the inside does have it right now, but I would recommend take it out for every lot after what we've already done. Because I think that the costs are gonna be strong enough that you're going to need every last dollar of tax revenue to support infrastructure from here on out. The number we got, and we went over this multiple times, the number we had on phase 1 was frankly fantastic. I mean,
Unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
a really big project, you know, and that's always a benefit. And I mean, they were tight numbers. You had that many, you know, contractors that were coming after it. And that's a lot of when you do that first phase of a development, you know, contractors want in on that first phase because they see it as, you know, this could be continuous work, you know, year after year. So I mean, you got really competitive numbers there, and just the price of construction period, I mean, it's gone up significantly. You have to remember that was